Okay, we're gonna draw a zombie today, and let's see how it turns out. This is my second test of this program, Krita. So what I want to do here is first get used to these lines. So looking at this, I want to pick a brush that I think will work pretty well. This one is pretty good, but let's go back to the one that I had. And the best way to test it is to draw a circle. And the circle catches up with you, you got a pretty good brush. So let's just go back to what I know works, and that's this brush here. Pretty sure. So let's see how this goes. Yeah, that's pretty good. Want to reduce the size a little. So anyway, there's a bit of a delay because I'm recording and then drawing, and then I got the music playing and then the voice recording, so that's why you're getting a slight delay. But right now I'm just visualizing what this zombie will look like, and this is all just adding to the detail of making the character more filled out with each line that you draw. So right now I'm thinking, okay, well, how am I going to put the mouth? Do I want the mouth attacking? So what I'll do is I'll start with the teeth and just draw some teeth in there. I'm looking like it's going to run out of room, so I'm still getting used to this program. I don't see a hand tool that would allow me to just drag the thing up without having to go with these bars here. But anyway, let's just keep going. And just thinking about teeth and what teeth look like, and then I just want to draw a decayed chin and mouth. So it looks like I did fit it in there. Now when I'm going over here, I want to visualize something over here for his jawbone, the edge of his jawbone. So then I'll go like that, and then with this I could finish this off now that I'm pretty confident about the way it turned out. And you could just draw a line there and then there. Now you could do a paint in and just color that in, but then you see what you got left. You gotta go over these little lines here, otherwise that's because it doesn't end on a perfect pixel. It smooths out, so when you paint it in, you got those little edges there. I probably would have been better off just coloring it in, but this saves me a fraction of time. It's not perfect, but that's the idea. So plus you could double the layer and that would speed it up pretty good too. So here the zombie's not in a good mood. You can see by his frowning eyes. So then let's continue, and we want to visualize the top of his head. Does he have a couple hairs sticking out of his head? just to give it a little more of a unique detail. So then this line here helps round this out. See how you got like a round shape there and you're just filling it out. So now with the eyes, I want to determine, do I want blank eyes or do I want expressive eyes? I think I'll probably just go with blank eyes, just no pupils or anything. That'll be like a scary look, because you're looking at the zombie and he's got no eyes. Sometimes I'll use like little pupils and that gives it more of a direction of where he's looking, but the pupils I would usually make more yellow or more unique in a sense. But anyway, so there's continuing with the teeth. I'm at an awkward angle with my pen here at the bottom of the screen. It's not entirely comfortable here, so moving on, you could put that in there. That's like a little detail. If you study the human face, you'll see that it caves in right around here. So with this, let's finish off the full face here and give him a ripped, decayed ear, although cartilage usually holds up pretty well from what I've heard. So you don't want to cut the back of his skull off too much. Like I could have went here with the line, but I'll extend it out there. This way, if he turned his head to the right fully, you'd see it would round out at the back. We're just going to draw the face today. And now with the neck, it could be a thin, because he's all decayed. Well, let's just end it there. Actually, let's not draw the neck, just in case I want to copy and paste this into a new zombie. I won't have to worry about that part there. So anyway, with the nose, usually you have one of these lines with a this type of a decayed character, so that'll help round that part out. Now you could have like some sort of slime or blood dripping down his mouth, and then you could just go like that. With the lines, I try to vary it up. I don't want to have a parallel line, because then it looks really awkward. Like I remember when I was first learning how to draw an arm. This is well, I better just stick to the topic here. Just as an example, I would go one line here and then one line here, and then draw the hand, and then one line here and one line here, and then for the muscle I would think, okay, well, 2 lines here. So then I would go like that, and then I'd say, well, there's got to be something here, and then go like that. It looks so awkward. So then, see, now I gotta erase all that. So that's the key to not making the lines too parallel. Sometimes it's hard to prevent, but it gives it more of a unique, realistic look, because few things in real life are always parallel unless they're man-made. So now we're just adding details. The whole face is pretty much completed as far as the overall shape of it. We're just adding some extra features here, like this is the back of his skull that might have torn off a little. And with those lines, you'd want to, I just gotta figure out where my eraser is. Oh yeah, it's up here, I think. You go under here. See, I'm pretty new to this program. So there's the eraser. I could go in here and vary these lines up a little because it was just a little too heavy on the lines there. Right here too. Probably won't matter too much in the end. So let's keep going here and add some bubbles sticking out of his forehead here, his brow, and you just going along it. So then you could just keep building up what you started and vary up the shape and the size and the position of them so it doesn't look too uniform. So there you go, you got that, and then you could add a few more here just in case you use this character and rotate him. When he flips the other way, it'll be consistent in terms of his eyebrows and the detail on them, just in case you use them for animation or something. So anyway, there's some extra lines. They call those the eye lines or whatever. But anyway, so right now I could stop this here and start the coloring phase, but I think I'm not quite there yet. Just a few more details here, I think I'll be there. So right now I'm just adding some hairs on the top of his head, and his head is kind of flattened out up there, but I ran out of space, otherwise I would have rounded it out a little bit more. So with this, I think I got pretty much all the major details that I wanted. And so we could just get a few more lines in here, because when you're shading, these lines help later on when you're trying to figure out, well, how do I shade this part and that part. So I think we're pretty much set here. Let's move on to the next phase of drawing. That would be to duplicate this layer. See, here are all my tools. Let's go duplicate this layer, and then underneath you could do a simple fill. So find your fill tool and then go back, figure out what base color do you want it. So always save, because if you don't save, if you screw up, then you gotta start all over. So let's think of more like a grayish blue color, like a decayed color. I think that's pretty good right now. So going back in here, we could color that in, and see, get all these little, I messed that up. So let's undo that. I gotta pay attention. See, that's the blood there. So then what's good here is it didn't fill everything in, otherwise I'd have to redo the eyes. In this back, I'll just color that gray just like the rest of it, and then I could vary it later on. But there you go. So that was pretty good. See, if you didn't duplicate that layer, then it would look like that, which is close, but see how that extra layer of the original is still there? And then if we zoom down, see these checkers, I like a little more contrast in them, but I'm still figuring out how to do all that. So there you go there, and see how that stands out there. So then you go save, and now I could start going with more detail. I just want to make sure I'm on the right layer. So let's duplicate that layer, and now you want to isolate everything. First you want to go back to your base color, the black, and then go back to your brush. Actually, let's go to the lasso tool, click on any spot outside the character and see how it fills the line around them. So you want to go to select, invert select, and now it's selecting everything within. So that's a pretty good trick to get used to everything. But anyway, let's set this to 63 and see how you could add the shading without going full color dark. So moving on, I probably want a bigger brush here, so let's increase that to 29, and then you want to reduce the opacity to 47 because it's going a little bit too heavy for the first line that I'm drawing. So let's think about the light source now. Where do I want the light source? The first thing I could do here is go really light and see how I'm going outside the lines and it's still within. So there's your light source on the right side of the character. And now I'm just doing a basic wash of the character, and this is really pretty good, but as far as quickly getting stuff in there. But one thing I need to do is get those eyes filled in and the teeth before I really keep going. But for now, let's make sure let's just go back and do this right now. So for the eyes, let's go with a another blue-gray color, or more of a yellow. That's good. And the teeth as well. So make sure you're on the right layer. See, I'm on. See, this is the layer you want to be on because this is the layer where you color it in. So see, that was not good because for some reason the setting for that changed the opacity of the fill, so we have to just go back and fix that. But now that that's there, so the teeth you want like a yellow. Alright, what's going on here? So go back in, make sure you got the right color here. There we go. There's a bit of a delay there, as you could see. For some reason, all this stuff here slows the program down. So now let's go to the red and then put this right here really quick. You could even go in there. Uh-oh, I don't think that line went right. I could probably zoom in here and then zoom back out, but let's just zoom in really quick. So you don't want to hit the wrong line. And then you could add another layer and that'll fill more stuff in, like go duplicate, and then when you zoom in, and then you could just merge this down. So now when you zoom in, you won't see those little pixels. So, well, I guess you see a little bit. Alright, but moving on. That's the basic of it. I'm not sure how long this video is going to run, but I better start speeding up here. So let's get this layer back on. And now let's really get back to filling this out and moving on here. So we got this. Oh, wait a second. Something's not right here. You gotta get the right pen. Plus, I gotta get on the right layer. See, I screwed that up. I don't want to mess up that layer. I want to be on this layer here, and I want to make sure I have the right color picked. So hopefully I could get this. There we go. Get this going. Alright, now I'm gonna start speeding things up a little, because I've been going pretty slow, just getting used to everything. And now I'm thinking, okay, if the light is void over here, that means this area is going to be pretty dark, and I could go a little heavier on the brush. You don't want to make this completely black, because then you lose the finesse of that line there. So then with this, I'll just keep going, and the edge sometimes has reflected light on it, so you, although you could go really dark on it, you got to think, okay, where are the lines here? Where's this monster's zombie's lip? So that's why I'm drawing this curve here, right there, and it gives it more dimension, more depth. You just got to visualize as you're going. See, this brush is a little too big for these teeth, so that's why I'm having a little bit of a clumsy time here filling in the teeth. They're doing what I want, but it's a little too much for the size of those teeth. And then with this nose, I kind of want it to fade out, not be such a hard line like that. So that's why I'll add some shading there. Now with this, the bridge right inside next to the nose, this is usually pretty dark on a zombie, so you can go a little heavier there, even though, see, I could use a thinner brush here, but we're just gonna move on and keep going. This is that part where the eye compresses in a little, but I'm not so sure about that. So let's ease up on some of that stuff. I think that looks a little better. So because the eyebrow covers the eye, you could go with a little shadow here. Look how that brings it out. And then here you got the brow here, right between them, and then you could go a little heavier there. So anyway, let's see here. So right now I'm just filling in all the details as I go across the page. And this is just the wrong size brush for that kind of detail. I need to go a little smaller. This way it doesn't cover parts of the drawing that I don't want. So here you could just do some random strokes with the brush. And then that'll give it a little more dimension. Don't want to go too dark though in this area, because this is where the light's hitting, right in this area. So let's take a look here. Usually I don't talk while I draw, but this is pretty much what I would, well, I wouldn't be thinking about this out loud or in my mind. I'd be, my mind would be pretty quiet right now. I wouldn't be thinking about everything I'm saying, because it's all pretty much automatic. Once you understand it, then you don't have to think it over. But that's why I have to really focus in here and concentrate. So here you could add some dots and little specks. Doesn't really do too much right now, but later on, maybe with more contrast, it'll stand out. Now here, this is where the cheekbone will cast a shadow down here. Plus this is going back further, so the further back you want something to look, or the more in shadow you want it to be, the more shadow you apply to that area to give it more depth and dimension. Alright, I could probably darken this pen a little. Just a little light for what I'm doing. So I keep saying so, but here we go with this part here. Just trying to think of things to say, but really it's just a matter of going over each section and looking at the line and saying, okay, where's the light hitting it? What side do I want it to be on? See, the light's hitting over here, so over here it doesn't matter too much that you have the shadow on that side. It's more of a subtle thing that really doesn't make too much of a difference. So here I can have the shadow there, and then these hairs, I'll probably just change them in the color maybe later on, or just leave them the way they are, because they're not that big of a deal. I could probably change the color of it though, because they're pretty pronounced. They're not really thin. So then here I could go like that. See how this lasso tool really holds everything in? If I didn't have it, I'd be like, oh, really careful around the edges here. And you'd probably go outside the lines really easily. So this is my first time getting, well, second time getting used to this program here, Krita it's called, and I like the program. I just have to have this thing over here, this sticky over there, because my computer's not fast enough. But when I have that covering all those tools, it goes pretty much exactly the speed I want it at. So there we go, and I like what's happening here. It looks pretty creepy as far as a zombie. Now what you could do is go over all that again, or you could just think about your highlights now. So let's go to the highlights. The highlight, think again about your light source, because that's where your highlights will be. So now you could start doing this, but this is a little too heavy with the opacity. So let's lighten that up. I'll start off small here with these lines, and then I'll increase the amount. See, I think there's like a slight delay here. When I'm drawing, there's like a little bit of a lag. Probably because the recorder is going on, and then the music's playing, and the voice is recording. It probably has something to do with it. But it's pretty responsive overall. See that? You don't want that there. I wasn't paying attention, and I definitely don't want highlights in the shadow. At least not highlights that stand out. You want them to be pretty dark in that area. So if there's a highlight, see with liquid, there are little dots I noticed that appear. You don't want to go crazy with too many dots, but that's kind of what it looks like. And then with the teeth, they could be shiny, so you could put a few highlights on the teeth. You don't want to overdo it. Keep it pretty subtle, and usually where something forms a point, that's where the highlight really concentrates. It forms into that area for some reason based on the way light works. So what a highlight does is it brings it forward. You're bringing that part of the object forward. Just like a shadow brings it back, the highlight brings it forward. So here I'm going beyond the shadow, but I definitely want this to look more forward at this point with the eye, as though it's bulging out instead of receding in. So that's a little heavy there, but let's reduce it slightly. There, that's good. So there we go there. Let's keep going. And I think I'm probably about, I'd say 45 minutes into this now. It feels like 45 minutes. I could be wrong. I didn't pay attention when I started. But if I could keep this under an hour, I'll be happy. So all this you're seeing here is the first step with a picture that I would draw. After I get the face, then I would add like a background and other details, and then contrast is really important. If your picture doesn't have contrast, it looks really flat. So contrast really helps out. And see the edge of this line? You could go really light with a highlight on there. That's called reflective light. It's not something you need to always worry about. Well, actually it gives more dimension to your drawing. But if it's more simple, you don't have to worry about it too much. Like if you have a simple cartoon and you're not worried about too much detail. So here, well, you got to be careful here. It's a little too heavy with opacity. And see, I want to bring this out a little, so I'm adding a little bit of a highlight there. And this here, I want to See, that brush is too big. When you add too much pressure, you see how big your brush ends up. So here, this side of the nose, you want it to stand out a bit because it's over there, but the opacity is too light now. You're putting heavy pressure on the pen, but nothing is happening. So being the top of the head, you could add a few more highlights up here. Still think about your shadows because you don't want to defeat their purpose. So there you go, and there's a few highlights there, and just put them wherever you see an open space, but don't get rid of all your gray, because then you'll defeat the purpose of the gray. You want to balance it out slightly. So here on this edge here, this is a good place for a reflective light, usually in the dark, even though that contradicts what was happening over here. See, you could put a little bit here, but you want to be really light with it. You don't want to overdo it. So here, this reflective light is usually from the edge of something. So like on behind him, the light is shining, so that's what's making this appear over here. Plus it makes it a little more rounded for your character. So there's that, and then I think some lines within the teeth would probably help. Let's go pretty heavy on that. So I think we're pretty much getting to the end of it. What I could do now is contrast. I think we pretty much got everything I wanted here. I'll add a little bit more highlights in here. Make this edge stand out a little more. Yet I could add a little more shadow here, but anyway, that's pretty much it. See how you got that black line there? Add a highlight there, and that'll make it less by itself. You could add a highlight in here, even though the light's on this side. So I think that's pretty much the majority of it. Let's see what it looked like originally. See, I made a mistake. I didn't. Oh, I did I? Okay. Somewhere over here. I thought I got rid of my. See, you always want to have this by itself. Just your lines. If I didn't have the lines and I only had this, then there's no way I could ever separate that in the future. So layers are really great. I find them really useful. So there's that. Now what I want to do is duplicate this layer here. See what it did? It totally made those eyes too dark. That's weird. I don't know why I did that. But anyway, let's just have that as an extra layer just in case. So with this now, I have all that. Let's work on the contrast. So we have tools or filters, and then adjust. First thing I want to do is save it. So let's zoom out, because that'll give you a better perspective of what you just drew. And now with adjust, go to brightness. See, whereas I wish I had a scale here or a parameter, but you got to use this curve here. Curves, you don't know what you got until you press the curve. With a scale, it's immediate. See, I like that there. That looks pretty good. That was a mistake. So you got a backspace. I don't know why I did that. That looks okay there. There's like a delay. It's a little too washed out. That's not bad. I kind of like that. It's a little too much contrast. That's about right there. So see the difference from that to that. It's about actual size right there. Now you want to work with the colors. Usually I would be able to change this. I wonder what this does. Let's see. Oh, this is the hue. See, I'm used to the GIMP program and Photoshop, so this is all new to me. This looks like it's lowering the saturation, or I'm not sure. Looks like it's increasing it. So we originally had like a blue color. I wonder if I could get that back. See, a zombie, I don't want too saturated, because then... Oh, this is weird. I don't quite get it. Like, is this... Oh, okay. So that's 0, and this is 28. I see it now. This right here kind of... So that's 0. See, that should be right there. Instead of just disappearing, it should be right there, and then it should keep going this way. But by disappearing, it confuses me. I'm like, well, why did it disappear? This bar should be right there, but it disappears. But anyway, just getting used to everything. That's weird. It's not affecting the teeth. Uh-oh, I wonder if I have the teeth on the wrong layer. So, anyway, I wasn't too worried about that. So, if you want to apply different patches to this face here, let's take a look. Alright, so that's visible. What happens when it's not? See, that looks pretty good without the lines there. Oh, I see what happened. Somehow I duplicated it before I colored in the teeth and the blood. That's what happened. So what I could do is duplicate this and then take this and merge it down. So now, see this layer, I don't know what this layer is doing. Oh, this was the extra layer. So let's get rid of that. And now this layer you could duplicate. And see, it didn't change the eyes too much. Now we're back to where we should be. So that's pretty much it. I don't see much more I could do other than I would add. Oh, okay, let's show one last thing here. With the lasso tool, let's isolate his actually, there's a quick way to do this. I'll show you. Let's stay selected there. But now that we have this second layer, let's create a third layer. Now we'll go into our color, adjust. Oh, here we go, color balance. That's what I was looking for. That's right in the way here. Such a giant chart here. Color balance. I really like working with color balance. So, thinking about what color hair this zombie will have, I'm thinking of a neutral color, like a earth tone. A little bit of yellow, that should be alright. Then you don't want it too light. See, shadows, midtones, highlights. So that's good. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take my eraser, figure out what size I want it, and then start erasing. Let's go 100%. See what's happening here? You're getting different effect. You could go like this, and let's see what this looks like. See how it adds more color to everything? You still want them to be kind of gray though. So I'll get to that later. And then, because his skin is decayed, it's no longer alive. So you definitely don't want it to look alive. So he's pretty much lost a lot of his hair over here on his skull. So see how I'm just highlighting only certain spots here, like this. I could go like that, and those bumps on his brow, they'll look a little bit different without having to isolate them with the lasso tool. So that gives you a rough idea of what I'm going for here. Now we're just leaving a couple patches there just to vary it up a little, give them a little more variety. It's pretty interesting. The hair stands out, but maybe a little too much. That brown, I guess it's alright. I could add a few of these in here just to gray it up a little. So save it, and then what you could do is, I would like a Like I'll do this. Watch. I'll take the lasso and I'll go like this. This is what I usually do. Like a big blotch of blood on a zombie's face, and then you just connect it there. And you could take your shift button, the shift, and just get a few blotches over here. This way it's not so uniform. I don't know why that load tool is working, the load icon. So there you go there. Now you could go back into your adjust. You could just go to your color balance. Actually, before I do that, let's do a copy and then get a new layer, new paint layer. Now let's do a paste. So we just have the bottom portion there. Just in case I goof it up, I'll have something to back up on. So going back to this, let's go to the shadows and give it a lot more red. Oh, that's pretty interesting. I thought it would have did a lot more than that though. I wonder, oh, it's only getting the shadows, that's why. So let's go to the mid-tones. This is a lot more. Oh, see, for some reason it's not catching everything. I guess I didn't cover it. So you don't want the blood too yellow. So there you go. That looks pretty good. I wanted to cover all this, but for some reason it didn't. Probably because it's empty. Empty space. See, I should have. New layer here. And then edit, copy this, and then paste right there. Is there like a color fill? Probably it right here, but let's go back to this, and this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to red. Let's see if it works. I don't think it's working. I don't understand. Oh, what happened there? That's weird. So you got every layer off, but apparently that is weird. So this layer's on it. So this layer, see? Somehow this layer that I took from didn't copy for some reason. See, I wanted this copied. Oh, maybe I put it in the wrong layer. I had to click on that. See, I'm not used to the way these eyes work here. So that's what I wanted right there. So then color adjust or color balance, I'll just do this again, and this is what I wanted to do right there. And then a little more yellow to it. Still, I want those teeth to be more red, but see, right now it's too yellow. That's good enough. So now, when you bring the layers back. This layer's not doing any good here. See, that didn't do anything. Now we'll go back up here and bring this layer up here because we want it to stand out a little more. Oh, there it was, up there. Well, that still, yeah, I'm still getting used to this program. That's why I could use more practice. So that's the idea right there. You could deselect it and then zoom out and then zoom in. This thing right there. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.